time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
The FEMA plans to imprison American citizens have generated a lot of interest around the country in locating the potential prison camp throughout the country.
It's time to wake up. The people in power go out of their way to make sure that you are perpetually misled and manipulated.
In the U.S. Capitol, your elected officials, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, have just overwhelmingly passed the National Defense Authorization Act. Squeezed into this military funding bill are two provisions that give the military not just lots and lots of money, but lots and lots of power as well.
4 days after George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, Customs and Border Protection flew an unarmed Predator drone over protesters there.
DEA, CBP, and ICE do not have a role in this, and they should not be using their surveillance technologies and militarized equipment to combat protesters.
Law enforcement flew drones over protests in Minneapolis and New York. Facial recognition software is being used with some police body cameras. Law enforcement can use signals from your cell phone or automatic license plate readers to follow your movement.
At police departments in some cities, facial recognition software is now integrated into the body-worn cameras that have been in widespread use for years. A 2016 study found that half of American adults are in a law enforcement facial recognition database. So far, a handful of cities have banned the use of facial recognition software, and statewide bans of its use with body-worn cameras are in place in Oregon, New Hampshire, and most recently, California.
It's time to wake up.
The military has the right to arrest anyone, haul anybody off.
It's time to wake up.
I do not feel safe living in the United States.
It's time to wake up.
You thought that was hardcore. The secret arrest of Americans, the end of posse comitatus, military on the streets, the whole world a battlefield.
As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers.
U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now, thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil.
Another example of the unforeseen consequences involves the rise of the Wagner Group, a private military company based in Russia.
The Wagner Group is a Russian private military company. Okay, they're like Blackwater, but much more lethal, and they have a lot more free hand. They work for the GRU, which is Russia's military intelligence directorate.
It's time to wake up.
The military has the right to arrest anyone, haul anybody off.
It's time to wake up.
I do not feel safe living in the United States.
You thought that was hardcore. The secret arrest of Americans, the end of posse comitatus, military on the streets, the whole world a battlefield.
As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers.
Why are there law enforcement officials, in full riot gear? Why are there drones flying overhead? These are protests against police brutality that have largely been peaceful. Why is there this sort of increased militarized presence that should not exist in this context?
When the looting starts, the shooting starts. When the looting starts, the shooting starts.
The world of mercenaries, it's an illicit economy.
Some of these individuals are part of what are known as private security companies, or private military companies, better known as PMCs.
Private military company is a term of art that is code for mercenary.
Dangerous times indeed. What can be done about it? Must we wait for the inevitable and expect to restore our liberties in a street fight against the overwhelming power of the state? Not a good option.
It's time to wake up. The people in power go out of their way to make sure that you are perpetually misled and manipulated.